The galaxy, vast and unpredictable, had a way of ensnaring its travelers in dangers they never saw coming, much like the distress call that was about to pull Max into a fight for survival. Max Carter, an Earthborn mercenary turned intergalactic adventurer, had faced off against cosmic warlords, navigated asteroid storms, and even outwitted rogue AI overlords. But beneath his battle-hardened exterior lay the scars of past failures, ones that haunted him in the quiet moments between missions. But this was something entirely different. It all started on the edge of the Aquin Nebula, a sprawling expanse of gas and glowing stars where few dared venture. Max was en route to Drowing 5, an aquatic world, tasked with delivering vital supplies to an isolated research station. Yet, something in his gut told him this trip wouldn't go as planned. Known for its endless oceans and bioluminescent sea creatures, Drowing 5 was a breathtaking sight. But it wasn't the kind of place you wanted to be stranded. The storms were relentless, and the waters held secrets, some beautiful, others deadly. As Max navigated his rugged but reliable starship, the Iron Wraith, through the planet's atmosphere, the warning alarms blared. Unidentified signal detected, the ship's AI, Vera, announced in her usual monotone voice. Max frowned. Vera, isolate the signal. What are we dealing with? It appears to be a distress beacon. Origin, unknown. Signal strength, faint. Source, submerged beneath the ocean's surface. Max tightened his grip on the controls. A distress beacon? Out here. His instincts screamed at him to ignore it. He was just a delivery guy today, and getting involved in someone else's mess was bad business. But then again, curiosity was a beast he couldn't quite tame. Patch it through, he said. Static filled the cockpit, followed by a garbled voice, desperate, pleading. Help, sinking, coordinates attached. The message ended abruptly, the signal barely holding on. Max sighed. Damn it. He wasn't the kind of man to leave someone hanging, not if he could help it. Vera, adjust course. Let's check it out. The Iron Wraith descended toward the rolling waves, the dark ocean glistening with streaks of green and blue bioluminescence. Using his ship's scanners, Max pinpointed the distress beacon's location. It was coming from beneath the surface, about 200 meters down. Great, Max muttered. Underwater rescue. Just what I needed. He suited up in his pressurized dive gear, grabbed a multi-tool blaster, and prepared to dive. The moment he plunged into the water, he was enveloped by an eerie, shimmering world. Strange, luminescent creatures flickered in the depths, their alien forms slithering through eerie coral spires that pulsed with unseen energy. The water around him felt alive, watchful, as if something far greater lurked just beyond his sight. But it was the silence that unnerved him the most, the kind that made you feel like something was watching. Swimming deeper, Max's HUD displayed the beacon's coordinates. And then he saw it, a sleek, alien escape pod wedged into a crevice. Its hull was cracked, and its systems sparked faintly. He approached cautiously, his blaster at the ready. Peering through the pod's small viewport, Max's breath caught. Inside was a woman, or at least, she appeared to be a woman. Her skin was a striking shade of azure, glowing faintly in the dim light. Her long, silver hair floated around her like a halo. She was unconscious, her chest rising and falling faintly. Vera, I've found someone. She's alive but unresponsive. I'm bringing her up. Using his multi-tool, Max pried open the pod's hatch. The water rushed in, and he grabbed the alien woman, holding her close as he began his ascent. As they neared the surface, a shadow moved in the corner of his eye. Something large. Something fast. Oh, come on, Max growled. The creature emerged from the darkness, a sleek predator with rows of bioluminescent spines and a maw full of razor-sharp teeth. It lunged toward them, and Max barely managed to fire his blaster, the shot illuminating the water in a flash. The creature recoiled, but it wasn't deterred. Kicking hard, Max propelled them toward the surface. The predator closed the distance, its glowing eyes locked onto them. With one hand gripping the alien, Max fired again, this time hitting the creature's side. It let out a shrill, underwater screech and darted away. Breaking the surface, Max gasped for air and hoisted the alien woman onto a floating piece of debris. The Iron Wraith hovered nearby, and he activated his wrist communicator. Vera, reel us in. Moments later, they were aboard. Max laid the woman on the medical table and activated the ship's automated diagnostic systems. The scanners hummed, and Vera's voice broke the silence. Subject is stable. Species, unidentified. Signs of recent trauma and oxygen deprivation detected. Recommending immediate care. Max ran a hand through his damp hair. Well, she's alive. That's a start. As he cleaned up and prepared to leave Drelvera 5's atmosphere, he couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just stepped into something far bigger than a simple rescue mission. Hours later, the alien woman stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing irises that shimmered like liquid silver. She looked at Max, her expression a mix of confusion and fear. "Hey, it's okay," Max said, raising his hands in a placating gesture. "You're safe. I pulled you out of that pod. Do you understand me?" She tilted her head, then spoke in a language Max didn't recognize. The ship's universal translator kicked in after a few seconds. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice melodic but wary. "Maximum. Just a guy passing through. And you?" She hesitated. "Kaelyn. I owe you my life." Max shrugged. "Don't mention it. What happened out there? Why were you in that pod?" Kaelyn's gaze darkened. "I was running. Escaping. They were hunting me." Max's stomach sank. "They? Who's they?" Before she could answer, the ship's alarms blared. "Incoming vessels detected," Vera announced. "Hostile signatures confirmed." Max looked out the cockpit window to see 3 sleek, black ships descending toward them. His gut twisted. Whoever they weren't here to talk. Kaelyn's voice trembled. "They found me." Max clenched his blaster and met her gaze, determination flashing in his eyes. He forced a smirk, masking the slight edge of uncertainty creeping in. "Stay close. This is about to get real ugly." The next chapter of this wild adventure was about to begin. Max tightened his grip on his blaster, feeling the cool metal pulse with latent energy. A faint hum vibrated against his palm, a reminder of the power within as the hostile ships closed in. His breath steadied, years of instinct and battle-honed reflexes kicking in. His instincts screamed at him to run, but he had nowhere to go. The Iron Wraith was fast, but against 3 well-armed fighters, he wouldn't make it far. Kaelyn sat up, her silver eyes gleaming like molten mercury in the dim cockpit light, a flicker of apprehension tightening her jaw. A sense of unease coiled in her gut, memories of past escapes flashing behind her gaze. "They won't stop until I'm dead." Max gritted his teeth. "Then let's make sure that doesn't happen." The ship rattled as the enemy vessels fired warning shots. Vera's voice chimed in, calm despite the tension. "Incoming hail from the lead ship." Max exchanged a glance with Kaelyn. "Let's see what these bastards want." The screen flickered to life, revealing a reptilian humanoid with sharp, predatory features. His scales shimmered under the cockpit's lighting. "Human," the alien hissed, "hand over the fugitive, and you will be allowed to leave." Max leaned back in his chair, feigning nonchalance, though his fingers curled slightly around the armrest, his pulse quickening despite his best efforts to appear calm. The tension reminded him of a mission gone wrong years ago, one where hesitation had nearly cost him his life. "Oh, sorry, but I make it a policy not to hand over people I just risked my neck saving. Bad for business." The alien snarled. "You do not understand what she is." Kaelyn tensed beside Maximum. "They don't care what I am. They only care about controlling me." The alien captain's gaze darkened. "You have no idea what you're protecting, human. This is your final warning." Max muted the call and turned to Kaelyn. "Time to tell me the whole story, princess. Why are these guys so eager to kill you?" Kaelyn hesitated, but another shot rocked the ship, forcing her to speak fast. "I'm the last of my kind. The Seraphim. We were once powerful, but the Zeldar wiped us out. They fear what I can do." Max raised an eyebrow. "And what exactly can you do?" Kaelyn's gaze locked onto his. "I can rewrite reality." Max blinked. "Well, that's a hell of a talent." Before he could press her further, Vera cut in. Shields at 30%. Structural integrity compromised. Max cursed. We can't outgun them. Shields are already struggling, and their weapons are calibrated for precision. His eyes darted to the radar, mapping the enemy's formation. But maybe we can outmaneuver them. Kaelyn closed her eyes, and the air around her shimmered. Suddenly, the ship's systems flickered, rebooting in an instant. The shields surged back to full power, and the engines roared to life with twice their normal output. Max gaped. That shouldn't be possible. Kaelyn exhaled heavily, a wave of exhaustion creeping into her limbs as her glow dimmed slightly. Cold seeped into her bones, the draining effort pulling at her very essence. She clenched her fists, willing herself to stay strong, but the edges of her vision blurred, threatening to pull her under. It is for me. But I can't do it for long. Max didn't waste another second. He slammed the controls forward, sending the Iron Wraith into a wild, twisting dive. The pursuing ships fired, but their shots missed as Max wove an impossible escape path through the chaotic sky. He grinned. Hang on. I've got a plan. Kaelyn tightened her grip on the co-pilot's seat. I hope it's better than your last one. Max smirked. Oh, ye of little faith. As the enemy ships closed in, he dove straight for the churning oceans of Drowing 5. The last place they'd expect a sane pilot to go. Kaelyn's eyes widened. You're not serious. Max just grinned wider. Oh, I'm dead serious. With the enemy on their tail and the ocean rushing toward them, Max prepared to pull off the riskiest maneuver of his life. The real fight was just beginning. The Iron Wraith plunged toward the churning ocean, the enemy fighters closing in with deadly precision. Max held the controls steady, pushing the ship to its limits. The hull groaned under the intense pressure as they accelerated into a nosedive. Kaelyn gripped the armrest beside her, her silver eyes wide with a mix of fear and awe. Her knuckles whitened as she tightened her grip. This is insane. Are you trying to get us both killed? No, Max corrected, a smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. This is strategy. Behind them, the enemy ships adjusted their trajectory, struggling to keep up. The ocean below was an unpredictable mass of waves and bioluminescent currents, flickering with eerie light. Max could almost hear the computer warnings screaming at him to pull up, but he ignored them. Vera, calculate precise impact velocity and deploy external shields on my mark. Max, Kaelyn warned, her voice strained. If you're wrong. I'm never wrong. He flicked a switch, bracing himself. Mark. A shimmering energy field enveloped the Iron Wraith just as it hit the surface. Instead of breaking apart, the ship skidded across the waves like a stone, hydroplaning into the deep. The force of the impact sent shockwaves through the cockpit, but the shields held. The enemy fighters weren't so lucky. The first ship attempted to pull up, but the force of the ocean's gravitational currents yanked it downward, swallowing it whole. The second ship clipped a wave, spinning out of control before detonating on impact. The third fighter managed to avoid disaster, but in doing so, it lost sight of its target. Max exhaled sharply, a slow grin creeping onto his face. His heart was still pounding, but he masked it with confidence. Told you. And you doubted my piloting skills? Kaelyn turned to him, breathless, shaking her head in disbelief. A nervous chuckle escaped her lips as she clutched her chest. How did you even pull that off? I thought we were dead for sure. Pure talent, he said with a wink, easing the ship into a smoother trajectory as they submerged. The ocean stretched endlessly beneath them, alien creatures swirling in the depths. But they weren't safe yet. They'll send reinforcements, Kaelyn said. We need to keep moving. Max nodded. Vera, what's our best escape route? Scanning, the AI responded. A map of the ocean floor flickered on the display. There's a cavern system below, leading to an underwater trench. High probability it will shield us from enemy sensors. Kaelyn's expression tightened. I don't like enclosed spaces. Not a fan myself, Max admitted, gripping the controls. But I like getting shot at even less. With a push of the thrusters, the Iron Wraith dived deeper, slipping into the cavern's maw. The rock walls were lined with phosphorescent minerals, casting an eerie glow over the ship's hull. Then the scanners beeped, a low, rhythmic pulse that sent a chill down Max's spine. The display flickered, struggling to process the enormous shape that loomed in the shadows. Something was moving ahead, closing in fast. Max tensed. "Please tell me that's just a school of fish." "Negative," Vera replied. "Life forms detected. Large. Fast-moving." Kaelyn's face paled, and she instinctively pressed closer to the console. The overhead lights flickered slightly, casting eerie shadows across the cockpit. "They know we're here." The air in the cockpit grew heavy with tension, the distant hum of the ship's engines now seeming ominously loud, as if the entire vessel was holding its breath. Max tightened his grip on the throttle. "Looks like we've got company." The Iron Wraith twisted through the underwater trench, barely skimming the jagged rock walls as Max pushed the ship to its limits. The monstrous figures closing in from behind moved with an eerie precision, their glowing eyes cutting through the abyss. Every second counted. Kaelyn's breathing was shallow, her energy clearly waning. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears, vision blurring at the edges. A single thought pressed against her mind: she couldn't afford to fall now. She clenched her fists, willing herself to stay conscious. "We can't outrun them forever." Max gritted his teeth, a flicker of old battles surfacing in his mind. Memories of near-fatal skirmishes and desperate last stands filled his thoughts. "Then we don't outrun them. We end this." With a quick maneuver, he flipped the ship's orientation and killed the forward thrusters. The ship lurched, inertia pressing them forward as the enemy creatures surged ahead, momentarily thrown off by the sudden stop. That was all the time Max needed. Vera, full power to rear thrusters, now. The ship blasted forward like a missile, ramming directly into the largest of the pursuing beasts. The impact sent shockwaves rippling through the water. The creature shrieked, its bioluminescent body cracking under the force. The others hesitated. Kaelyn took a deep breath, hesitating for a brief second as the sensation built inside her. A tingling warmth spread through her fingertips before her glow reignited, sending a rippling force through the water. With a raised hand, she reached out, not physically, but with her mind. The water around them trembled as an unseen force rippled through it. The remaining creatures halted their pursuit, their glowing eyes flickering with something other than hunger, understanding. One by one, they turned away, disappearing into the trench depths. The ocean fell silent. Max released a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "Care to explain that?" Kaelyn leaned back, exhaustion washing over her. "They weren't just hunting. They were afraid of me, of what I could do. I showed them the truth." Max shook his head, a smirk tugging at his lips. He crossed his arms, feigning ease despite the weight of the moment. "Remind me never to get on your bad side." As they ascended toward the surface, Kaelyn's energy slowly stabilized. The Iron Wraith broke through the waves, the night sky above them glittering with stars. They had survived. A moment of silence stretched between them before Kaelyn turned to Maximum. "You could have left me back there. But you didn't." Max smirked. "Not my style." She studied him, then smiled softly. "Maybe there's more humanity left in the galaxy than I thought." Max glanced at the stars, thinking of all the battles fought, all the people who had been lost along the way. "Maybe. But it's up to us to prove it." As the ship soared toward the horizon, Kaelyn closed her eyes, finally allowing herself to rest. But somewhere in the back of her mind, a lingering question remained: was this truly the end, or just the beginning of something even greater? For the first time in a long time, she wasn't running. And Max? He wasn't just another mercenary chasing the next payday. They had both changed. And in a galaxy full of war and chaos, that meant something. Moral bravery isn't just about fighting, it's about knowing when to stand, when to let go, and when to show mercy. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in understanding, not destruction.